Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high-performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. My guest today is Andrew Spira, a founder and accomplished entrepreneur with a 10 million real estate portfolio. But that's not all. He's also a coach, mentor, and motivational speaker who has an interesting story to share. And I can't wait to hear more about it. So welcome, Andrew, and thank you so much for being on my show today. Hey guys, quick update before we get started. I'm 2 weeks into my Magic Mind Challenge now. It's 14 days of consistent use and the results are pretty amazing. I have to say I'm impressed. As I said before, not only has my focus improved, but I've also noticed a reduction in my overall stress levels. Work has been less overwhelming, I feel more balanced, and have a greater sense of ease. So what sets Magic Mind apart is their commitment to quality. Each shot is filled with high-grade ingredients like organic matcha and functional mushrooms. It's all scientifically validated and designed for optimal mental performance. They also use nano-encapsulation technology that makes their ingredients more bioabsorbable by the body compared to normal pills and powders so that they get absorbed 5 to 10 times faster. Ready to boost your own mental performance? Check out magicmind.com/ClaudiaG and use code ClaudiaG20 at checkout for a great discount. When you use that code, you can get up to 48% of your first subscription or 20% off a one-time purchase. So don't miss out. Without further ado, let's jump into today's episode.
Good morning, Claudia, or good evening for you.
Yeah, middle of the night, but doesn't matter. I'm really looking forward to this. But Andrew, I'm going to start with a tough question, if that's okay. So I saw a few sad headlines talking about the downfall of a young millionaire. And they mentioned all kinds of wild things from drugs to fraud and violence. So don't get me wrong, I'm not here to judge, but I would love to hear your side of this story. So what happened?
Yeah, so I guess we can go right to the start. So I'm from a pretty hard upbringing. My parents got divorced when I was 3. I was living with my mum after that. When I was 7, I got taken off my mum by the Department of Children in Sydney in Australia. And I ended up living with my dad, and that was quite a terrible upbringing as well. When I was 15, I ran away from home, and I guess that started my entrepreneurial journey. So to be able to cope doing what I was doing, I had to buy and sell phones. I was buying and selling gym supplements. I was doing what I had to do to get by during those years. Unfortunately, because I was on the street when I was a teenager, I developed quite a heavy methamphetamine addiction. And I was using that to stay up at night. So if I didn't have anywhere to stay, I would stay up all night, roam around, and then, crash out for a couple of days when I could. So that's why I use methamphetamines really heavily from the ages of 14 to 17. When I was 17, I got into a lot of trouble and met a woman at the same time, which sort of turned my life around. I ended up getting in some trouble, and then I stopped my addiction just before I turned 18, and ended up being able to get a job and start a business at the age of 19. And I made my first $1 million when I was 19 from scratch.
Wow. Congratulations. Yeah. Wow. I mean, that sounds really, really hard. And I would like to know what kind of coping mechanisms you developed during that hard time. I mean, before we started this interview, you said something about the numbness, and that's super, super common, that you just turn numb when things get really difficult. But maybe you have developed some more coping mechanisms that later became maladaptive. So I would love to hear more about that. Anything you
Look,
noticed?
I just turned 26 last week. I know it's still fairly young. I've done a lot, but I feel I'm growing out of a lot of the old coping mechanisms at the moment, which I'm also struggling to deal with. You know, the first time feeling tired, first time feeling all these things which
Yeah.
I've never felt in my life, and my body's adjusting to that. But in terms of coping mechanisms, I used to just bury my head in work in my business from the ages of 18 to 23 or to 22. All I did was work. And then my relationship with my ex-partner fell to pieces. And, you know, what did I do? I picked up drugs again straight away, you know, straight back into it, back to when I was 17, doing the same things, same habits. Literally all the same things just came back into my life 5 years later. And, unfortunately, when you've got a lot of money and you're high on drugs, you can do a lot more damage a lot faster. So I guess that led to that series of events, which have been widely reported globally now, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, to some people listening, this might just sound like, white privilege, the young white millionaire whining about how hard life is. But honestly, though, I think once you have that financial freedom and just the freedom to do whatever you want to do without constraints, I think that sounds really great in theory, but in practice, it's just really hard because as weird as it might sound, constraints give you direction, and without constraints, you might end up without direction. What do you think about that?
Yeah, look, I'll go back to the story again. I grew up 15 to 17, most of the time on the street. So obviously, I mixed with the wrong people. You mix with the wrong people when you're living like that, and those people are still there. So when I got back on the drugs, bang, all of a sudden, same people from 5 years ago doing exact same things just appeared out of nowhere. So it's like things can happen like what happened in the Northern Territory, which was widely reported about very easily when you're mixing with the wrong people.
Yeah.
And maybe I could be the wrong person as well, but that's what happens in those circles, things like that. And a lot of the things people get in trouble for don't get reported on in the media or sensationalized in the media.
Sure, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that we have to understand, that once we have developed these habits, when things get tough, these habits don't disappear. You fall back into old patterns if you're not careful. So that's something that we have to be very aware of. And we just have to develop new strategies that work better next time. So if you could go back in time, what would you do? What would you do differently?
Oh, my biggest regret is picking up drugs. I think about it every day now. As I said, I'm going through a period where something happened to me earlier in the year when I got a virus and I got quite sick. And for the first time, I had bad health in my life, and it's given me a big wake up call. I really regret taking drugs. I'm getting up in a routine. I'm doing exercise every day. I'm seeing a psychologist. I'm seeing a health professional for my diet. I'm really starting to look after myself and find value in having good health.
Yeah, that's so important. And when I think about addiction, I always think that it's a form of avoidance and trying to escape an uncomfortable situation. So what do you think you were running away from?
The voices in my head, the anxiety. That's all I was doing. The more I topped up on addictive substances, the less that voice was in my head. That's why I went so hard.
Right. And it
That's
was
what
me.
most people are doing. They're just running from their thoughts.
Yes, exactly. So for you, it was anxiety, because it's so easy to point to certain circumstances and things in your lives and blame them for your behavior. But if we dig deeper, it's not really about those outside situations. It's about the feeling that those situations trigger. So we are always looking to find the underlying emotion that's so uncomfortable that you cannot deal with that and that you needed to escape. So you would say in your case, it was anxiety that was driving that?
The anxiety was driving that, absolutely. I never dealt with it, and PTSD. I never dealt with what happened to me in my teenage years, which I've gone through the process of dealing with this year. I'm still having good periods and bad periods, but it's getting better now. I'm starting to grow out of a lot of things. I've actually had a bad couple of days, the last couple of days. I don't know why. I just haven't been sleeping properly. But before this, I had a very good month, almost an anxiety-free month in August.
Oh, that's good. That's good
Yeah.
to hear. So what's your anxiety centered around? Like, do you have a central thought that's always coming back, or what is it you're afraid of?
Um, at the moment, it's still around health. It's health anxiety, which is the worst.
Yeah.
As I said, before this call, I got a virus when I was in the Philippines earlier in the year, which put me in hospital for 10 days, and I was in a bed for 7 days. And I'm a very active guy. I do like 30,000 steps every day. So I'm
Mm.
always moving around and doing push-ups, and I'm very active. And that gave me a massive wake-up call. And I just don't want that to happen again. I don't want that feeling of helplessness again. And then it's around stuff that happened to me when I was a kid sometimes, when I was between the ages of 5 and 10, which I think is quite common. And then a big thing is around people that have died. I used to hang around with the wrong people when I was younger, and actually a lot of those people are dead already before the age of 30. So that's a big thing that comes up a lot as well.
Yeah, I bet that's really hard. I mean, I know what it's like to have those health scares, and I've had like panic attacks, especially even in the last month. Sometimes it can happen when you get pain medication. So in my case, some of the pain medication I got for a back injury triggered an old trauma, and
Yeah.
I had panic attacks again in the last month, which is just terrible when you wake up in the middle of the night and you feel like, oh my God, you're about to die, or something terrible
Yeah.
is going to happen, and you're just like, your body goes into overdrive, and you really have to learn to calm yourself down again. And as you said, it's a journey, and I have good times and bad times, and you can have had like a really good run for a year or even for many years, and all of a sudden something triggers an old trauma, it comes back up, and when your body it just goes straight back to that terrible situation where you felt so scared, and all the emotions come back up again, and it's really terrifying. So what are you doing when something like that happens?
Look, it depends on the severity. As you know, you go through periods where it's more severe and it's less severe. At the moment, the attacks I get are more severe. So my coping strategy at the moment is I just put everything down and I go lie down, I close my eyes, and I just have a rest for 10, 20 minutes. And that does the world of good. A couple of years ago, when I was quite fit and doing well, not as well as now, but I would just exercise. But
Yeah.
exercise doesn't work anymore. It just makes me more tired. So it's just about resting and resetting my brain. That's a big thing.
Have you tried some breath work?
I do breath work when I'm resting. That helps massively.
It's so good, right?
So good. Yeah.
Yeah, and guided meditations are also
Guided
something.
meditations as well. But sometimes I don't like that it's on the device.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Now, what did your life look like when you were going through that really difficult phase? What did it look like before, and what is it like now? Can you just contrast the highs and lows for us to give us a little more context?
Yeah. So in terms of the period, I relapsed in February 2022. I just moved into my new house. We were having a housewarming. Everyone's like, "Oh, have a drink, have a drink." And it'd been 5 years 5.5 years since I picked up anything at all, and even a drink or a tablet. I hadn't even taken antibiotics at that stage. And so what do? Idiot! I have a drink.
Mm.
Within an hour, I'm ordering drugs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, straight away. I'm from the eastern suburbs of Sydney, so everyone knows that it's a wealthy area. Cocaine is really prevalent there. So we're having a party. Everyone wanted drugs. We're in a $10 million house. Everyone's happy. All of a sudden, I'm doing drugs, and that was it. I was then on it every day, and you could just slowly see the wheels falling out underneath everything. I was an absolute basket case, and it just progressively got worse and worse and worse. And then 10 months had passed. I'm still on it every day, and it stopped working, as cocaine does. So what do? Your drug dealer gives you meth, and then all of a sudden, bang, things really start to go out of control. So, it was a slow downward spiral. And fast forward 5 months, I'm living in a hotel in Bondi, a 3-star hotel in Bondi in early 2023. And my ex-partner made some false domestic violence claims against me, which, were proven that she lied in court, which never got reported about, and got arrested for that. And that was the first time I got arrested. And she called me on the phone and had the police sitting there, and I answered and spoke to her for an hour and a half, and I got arrested again because that's breach of a restraining order in Australia.
Okay.
And then I decided after that, I said, screw this. If they can do this to me, I'm going to try have a go at doing the runner from the country. And that's how that NT stuff happened. So it was just a gradual build up, like 3 events in the space of 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah.
And what is your life like now? Like, what are you doing now?
Oh, look, it was the best thing that ever happened to me in hindsight. My life is great now. I've rebuilt all my businesses. Probably I'm making more money per month than per year now, than before. So, like things are really good. I've got really good people around me. I've got good friends now, which I didn't have before. I've got a mentor, which I didn't have before. I've got a great business, which runs without me, which I didn't have before. I'm starting to reinvest in property, which I've got a different philosophy on now. Things are going really well for me. But every now and again, I guess that old event gets brought up. But to be honest, it's mostly tire kickers, and it's fantastic. It's gotten rid of all the tire kickers out of my life, and I'm really only dealing with really successful people that have been through hard times as well, which is most really successful people.
Yeah, congratulations on being so resilient and finding a way out of that difficult situation. Can you share what that path out of the crisis looked like for you? What did you do on a daily basis to get back into alignment, and what gave you hope?
It was horrific. I ended up in custody in Darwin, Australia. So I was in jail for 4 months. Darwin is a territory in Australia which is full of First Nations people, and the jail was just horrific. It was something out of a 4th or 5th world country. Had no funding, no staff. It was really, really bad. Got out and I thought, okay, well, things are going to go back to normal. I'd sobered up and all that, and things were so different. Every bank account had been closed. I had all these new lawsuits from, having 2,200 clients in a legitimate business and going offline for 4 months. I had a new issue every day. I had the tax office hit me up, just because once you become an easy target, they all start smashing it. And I just kept going. I knew that in the back of my head, I was destined for more, and that this wouldn't be the end of me. Even at some days, I thought about giving up. And late last year, things just started every day went from being bad to one day being good, and then another day being good, and then another week being good. And I've just kind of ridden that wave. Now I've just got this great momentum, which I'm using and making the most of every day.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, hard times are usually the best teachers. So what have you learned about yourself through all of that?
I've learned that I don't want to go through that again, to be honest. I feel like I'm on my last life, and I'm being very, very careful and getting advice on all my support mechanisms before I do anything, and being sensible and keeping things simple. Life's not that hard. Running a business is not that hard. People overcomplicate it. And building wealth is not that hard. People overcomplicate it. Just keeping my life simple and keeping my values true. I'm very big on, I want to have a family in the next 2 years. I'm working towards that and putting all the right mechanisms in place and continuously working on myself so that I can continue to have these great people in my life.
Yeah, I think that's super, super important. Now, you already mentioned that you are a successful founder. So can you tell us more about your businesses?
Yeah, so I've got a group of fintech businesses. I used to be a broker, unsecured business loan broker. I'm now actually a lender myself. So I'm doing B2B lending in Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom, anywhere from 75 to 150 days. and it's just short-term bridging finance. It's really my niche and my specialty product, and it's doing really well. Transitioning from being a broker to a lender, it took 2.5 years, and it took 2 failed attempts.
Okay.
But it's up and running now and doing really well.
And that's great to hear. So what happened during those failed attempts? Are you willing to share what went wrong?
Absolutely. I overcomplicated it. I thought to raise capital, you had to be a public, I had no education. I was doing the same process. I made $15 million during the COVID years being a broker. And that was just repetition. I wasn't creating anything overly new. Maybe I'm a little bit, not arrogantly, a little bit smarter than the average punter, so I could generate leads at a lower cost through Meta. But it was just hard work mainly. And, the first failed attempt, I tried to do a backdoor listing. I bought a dormant Australian public company, and I tried to backdoor list my company to raise capital off the public. And that failed miserably. I blew millions of dollars on that. So that was one thing I lost big on, trying to do it that way. Then I approached one of my competitors and asked to set up their business in a different jurisdiction. They said yes, but they ended up screwing me over. And then the third time I said, all right, I'm just going to ask my best mate if he wants to come in with me. And he's like, yep, I'm in, let's do it. And we launched, and now we're rocking and rolling.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Just keep it simple. You just got to keep it simple and not be overly creative.
Right. So
you're a great innovator, but don't try and be a great innovator if you're not.
That's a good point. I mean, what else did it take to build a successful business? What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs who don't quite know how to build a successful business yet?
Yeah, I know a lot of people say this, but find what you love and what you're passionate about. Create a simple process and focus on sales and revenue, not on the little gritty details, not on your tax jurisdiction or how good your website is or what address your business has or things like that, which are not important. Just focus on sales and revenue. Like every day I wake up and I've got all these great ideas. I'm going to be a bank. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. But then I think the only thing I've got to do is lend and collect the money. That's all I got to do. I got to keep doing it. I'm not going to look at my bank balance. And in a couple of years, I'm going to be a billionaire. That's all I think about now. That's all I know. I don't look at the bank accounts. I just focus on what I'm lending and collecting.
Okay. That sounds like a solid strategy.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that you've started like very early on in your teenage years with buying and selling stuff. So what does it take to be a good salesman? Confidence?
Yeah. You need confidence. You need to be able to find the desire for the person that you're selling to, what's going to drive them to buy the product. Like, for example, I'm in Manila at the moment, and, I just bought a condo here. I bought a condo, and I've been looking for 4 months, and I've looked at nicer condos, but the guy was such a good salesman. He just kept following me up. On Sunday, he knew I wasn't working. He knew I was bored. He's been like following my routine, messaging me at different times. So I'm always online, always responding. And he goes, it's 7 a.m. Sunday morning. He sends me a proposal. You're going to get this price, this plan, and we're going to get you into this unit. It's the last unit. And it was the last unit. So he was lucky there because I did some dummy emails. My staff did some dummy emails to see if it was the last unit, and he knew I wanted a condo, and he knew I found all these secondhand market too hard. So he created a desire, and he convinced me that there was nothing else left, and created that urgency, and bang, I transferred him the money straight away. So it's about finding what's driving the person with these big ticket sizes, following their routine, and building that rapport and that relationship, and most of all that trust. Trust is everything. I've got investors that have sent me over $5 million and haven't even looked at the bank account or the financials. It's just because I give them updates regularly and they trust me.
Right. Yeah. So trust, rapport, and confidence.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
It really is.
It's a fine
Because
line between all of it.
yeah, because sales can often be like the sales, like the used car sales people, like they are the cliche, the salesy people who are just trying to they are trying too hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can try too hard. Yeah, there's also that fine line between not caring as well.
Mm,
Nothing to
true.
lose.
Yeah, so true. Now, as a young multimillionaire, you've already achieved the financial success that so many people dream about. What do you dream about, and what does your current definition of success look like?
Look, I used to be big on assets and, having watches and cars and these high-end real estate properties with huge amounts of debt on them. I'm really going for the billion-dollar company now. That's my goal, and that's what drives me, and that's what gets me up in the morning. So I want to have a billion-dollar business. In terms of what life looks like for me, I'm more aiming for the billion-dollar business and personal goals in the next couple of years. I want to settle down. I want to have a family. I want to have a bit more of stability in my life now that I've kind of rebuilt all my businesses again.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. But how would having a billion-dollar business change your life?
That's a really good question. How will it change my life? It's just a goal. It's one of those things that an entrepreneur, that it's on my goal list, and I think it'll kind of get me to the next set of goals.
Right. Is it
Yeah.
more about I think I really love those ambitious goals if they align with the person you want to become. Like if you set a goal where the process takes you on a journey to become the person that you want to become, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think, at the moment I'm in the process of, I wasn't going to speak about this, but I'm in the process of setting up a family office. So we're generating such good amounts of money now, and we got nothing to spend it on. So we're looking at doing a bit of a VC fund and a bit of philanthropy through that as well, particularly around mainly around men's mental health and addiction issues, which both myself and my business partner are passionate about.
Oh, that's great. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I've got an organization, a personal organization, andrewspira.me, which is, I guess, more a mentor course for people really stuck in the rut, really at rock bottom. And I'm helping them just with basic things. I'm not helping someone become rich or, investing in someone's business, which people do reach out for. I'm really helping people that have just come out of jail, just come out of rehab, have no family, no one caring about them. And I'm just giving them that little bit of extra care to get them on the right trajectory. And in terms of the family office, we're going to start building our own rehabilitation centers, which are more centered around holistic healing rather than feeding people junk medication. Because once that medication, if you're not healthy, you can't get off it. Once you're on it, you're stuck on it for life.
So true. I love that. And as you know, I love everything holistic health. So
Yeah.
it sounds great to me.
Yeah. Well, the medication's killing people. It's stronger than the drugs on the street.
Oh, wow.
These antipsychotics, they knock you out for what drug on the street knocks you out like an antipsychotic? None.
Okay.
A Seroquel or an olanzapine, it just puts you out. Like how can that be good for you?
I don't think it is. I think there are times in your life when drugs might be good for a short period of time. But in general, if you can avoid them, avoid them. That's like, I don't even take painkillers if I had 2 children without any painkillers. So I know how to get through pain. But sometimes it gets so bad. Like if you have an injury or something and you take something for that for a certain period of time, that's probably fine, but oftentimes you might have to phase it out, and then you have to find something else that works for you, right?
Yeah, that's it. And I've been at positions where I've had no choice but to take something to calm me down because I get so out of control. It's really bad. But I don't think a lot of people meet that threshold, to be honest, that are on drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think we are too fast to just pop a pill and hope for the best. And that's not a great strategy.
Yeah. Like I'm 10 years of trauma or 20 years of trauma, and I occasionally need a Seroquel. I can't imagine a lot of the people I've met that are just stuck on these ruts of antidepressants and all the garbage are just they don't meet that threshold. They don't need to be on it in the first place. They just need like some exercise and sun and a bit of routine and a bit of human contact. I think that's the biggest thing driving this prescription medication epidemic is lack of human contact.
Yeah, that need for connection, someone else who is in your corner, who understands you, who hears you, who sees you. I think that's huge.
Even just talking to someone in person for 30 minutes has gone out the window. Like I try and book face-to-face catch-ups with people and they go, what do you want? We'll do it on Zoom or we'll do it on the phone, which is great for transactions. If you like, it makes you make more money quicker, but it's not good for anyone's mental health.
No, and I think, even if a chat like this, which is online, can be really, really great, just talking to someone, not just texting. There are different levels of social connection, and whatever helps. I think this social medicine is really underrated by a lot of people because it really helps. We are social creatures, we are social animals. We need that human connection, and everyone who thinks they don't need it, they are just fooling themselves, and they're trying to compensate the lack of connection through probably some maladaptive behavior.
Yeah, and that's why I live in the Philippines now, because it's just, I've got friends here, they just come in. I don't even worry. They just come in and come and see me, and I got that social contact, and we're having fun and we're having a laugh. And, it goes to say these lower socioeconomic countries, their values and lack of mental health problems it says a lot.
Yeah.
Like I have a look here. I see someone here, to be honest. I'll be open on that. I see someone here because I need to see someone regularly still. And you go into the hospital here and there's like a little corner desk for a psychiatrist, the smallest little thing. In Australia, you've got levels of psychiatrists.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right?
It makes you wonder.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience today?
No, if anyone fits the mold or wants to have a chat or is looking to do my course for getting basic life skills, feel free to sign up at andrewspira.me and get in touch with me. I'm available. I'm a workaholic, and that's one of my businesses. So I love working on it. I don't want anything from you. I just want to help.
Oh, that's great. So thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for talking today, for sharing your side of the story with us. I wish you all the best for your $1 billion company.
Thank you.
And for, staying healthy and staying on the right path.
Thank you.
Take care and talk soon.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for new episodes and more updates on my Feel the Magic Challenge. If you want to follow along and boost your energy and reduce your stress like I have, check out Magic Mind via the link in the description. You can get up to 48% off your first subscription or 20% off a one-time purchase with code ClaudiaG20. Let's see what 30 days of Magic Mind can do for you. I know we are all different, and what works for one person does not necessarily work equally well for somebody else. So I would love to hear your honest experiences. I'm confident that you will love the results. But even if you don't, there's no risk, since Magic Mind offers to refund 100%, no questions asked, for 100 days after buying. So enjoy. Thanks again for listening. Stay tuned and talk to you soon. Bye.